Hello, everyone, and welcome to our writing clinic. We are so excited that you could join us here today. My name is Christine. I'm one of the English support tutors at the Manchester campus, and we are continuing our writing clinics from last year. Okay, so if you've been following along, welcome back. And if it's the first time you are listening in, we're glad to have you here. Okay, so today we're going to look at something quite basic. It's the pre-writing aspect. Okay, so we're going to look at pre-writing. What is it? How can we include it in our writing? And we look at basic strategies of how to make this an ongoing pre-writing exercise that we do before any type of academic writing. Okay, so gather up and let's listen in as we explore what is pre-writing. Okay, so a little bit about pre-writing. What is it? What do you think? You can type your answers in the chat box. Let me know what you think about it. There is a little clue with the word pre, okay? So if pre is before an object or before in a sentence, it means before. So pre-writing means actual before the actual writing. However, there is a bit of writing involved in pre-writing. So it is another step of pre-writing. And as always, let's get into our learning objectives because it's important to know what key information we should know and if we need any additional assistance with those learning objectives. Okay, so today we're going to identify and apply different pre-writing techniques because there are many types of pre-writing techniques. You need to find the one that works best for you and is going to be a long-term solution in your writing. Okay, and we are going to look at both online and offline pre-writing tools effectively. So if you are very much at home with using your PC or your laptop, and you don't like to use offline tools, well, that's great because we got some online tools for you. And if you are someone who likes to use a journal or a notepad and you're not that comfortable using an online tool, that's fine because we are going to examine both of those. And we are going to look at developing a structured pre-writing plan for your academic writing. Okay, so let's get into it. So, introduction into pre-writing. Have you ever thought about pre-writing? What's your approach that you take when it's time to sit down to get some academic writing? Maybe you have an assignment, you got an essay. You know that an essay will follow in a similar format. It will have an introduction, will have a body and a conclusion. So where does pre-writing fit into that? If it's not any of those, why do I need to do it? So we're going to look at why we do need to add in pre-writing. Okay, this is a skill that I've taken some time to develop. When I was a student, I used to get straight into the nitty-gritty, look at the assignment topic and just type away. Now, the only issue with that is I sometimes had to rewrite my assignment a few times because I started off with a certain focus and then realized I didn't know enough or I lost steam halfway through and I wasn't sure of how it would end. So we're going to look at the role that pre-writing plays in reducing your stress and anxiety. If you were rushing through like myself previously, you don't have time to think about your writing in totality. You just want to get it submitted. However, pre-writing helps you to find your focus, helps you to find the beginning, the middle, and the end, all with pre-writing. Okay, so we're going to look at what pre-writing is, its benefits. Okay, how does it make our academic journey easier? And practical applications. As always, we are focused on making sure you can practically incorporate these techniques into your study life. So let's get on with it. So what is pre-writing? So pre-writing, as we discussed, refers to the initial stage. So it's the first stage of the writing process where your ideas are gathered and structured before you draft. Okay, so you think about absolutely all related ideas with regards to the topic and collates them or put them together, and that is pre-writing. Simply put, it's just getting your mind in gear to think about it. There's no right or wrong way to pre-writing. However you go about it is much dependent on you. Okay. So let's look at this image I have. It says academic writing and it's got all these other words around it like vocabulary, referencing, spelling structure, reflection. Now, these words are all in relation to academic writing. And guess what? This is an example of pre-writing because all it's done is taken in essence the different parts of your academic writing. Okay, so at an overview, instead of you reading a whole essay or paragraph about academic writing, you look at this image and immediately it condenses important points about it. Of course, you would delve into this a bit more. You'll delve into what each factor is or what each word represents and how it is used in academic writing. But for an overview, it helps us to gain an understanding of academic writing. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to get an overview of our topic that we are going to be writing. We don't need to know in full sentences or paragraph what we're going to write, but we just want to see basic key concepts like this. So it does include a variety of techniques, and like I said, everyone pre-writes differently, everyone uses different ways to pre-write. Some people use online tools, some people use offline, such as paper and a notebook, and some people use a hybrid where you integrate your notes that you've taken and you upload it on an online forum. Okay. I like to write down on my journal, then I'll take a picture of it and scan it to my laptop. So I have it. If I lose my notebook, if water spills on it, I still have access to that original information that I have. Okay. So you need to find that sweet spot that works for you. I do like online documentation of my work in case something goes wrong. I'm able to access it. If I'm not using my home PC and I log into the university's PC, I should be able to access the same information without it being a massive back or missing information. Okay, so it makes sure by using online tools, I have access to information at whenever I want. If I lose my book at home, that's not a problem. I just simply use my online tool. Okay. Also, if you do like to just get your answers and scribble them out, it's great. And if you organize them on an online platform, you get to plan it out a bit more and get to think about your pre-writing in a greater detail. Okay. But of course, it is dependent on yourself. So why do we pre-write? I know I've gone on a bit about how it is, how important it is, and it almost sounds like this magic s- solution, okay, to academic writing. So why do we pre-write? Because one, it's going to be a structured approach to helping us produce coherent and well-supported arguments. Because if we go back to this picture, it shows us an overview of the topic. Okay, so if we're thinking about the topic in totality, we're going to think about how will I start the topic? What could I focus on? Okay, what will be my key concepts in the body? And then I'll think about my conclusion. What would I like to end off my writing with? Okay, so you'll think about it from the beginning all the way till the end. So you'll get down as much information as you can and see what connects the information together to put together a coherent and a well supported argument. Another thing, reason why we pre-write is that it encourages in critical engagement. So when you get your topic, you're thinking about this critically, you're either using a mind map, you're brainstorming, and you are getting out all the information you know about that topic. So if you feel like you know enough, you will have lots and lots of information or lots of key concepts on that topic. However, if you run out of steam midway through, then that's telling you I need to do further research on this point or to get more information. Okay, whether you need to do further research on your topic per se or further research on those subtopics that you have from it, it's pointing you in a direction of I have enough to get started, but I need more research to finish my academic writing. Okay. So it allows you to see it in a whole view. Okay. So why do we pre-write? If you've ever had writer's block, you can imagine this person that's sitting there, they got their cup of coffee, they got some scrunched up paper next to them, and they are desperately trying to get the words out. However, with a writer's block, there is nothing coming to mind. This could be from a highly stressful situation where you don't have enough time and you want to just write and there's nothing, so that stresses you out, causes you anxiety, and therefore it's a forward loop where you get stressed, you can't write, which causes you more stress, and then you just don't know what to do, and again, more stress, unable to write, and it's a very vicious cycle. Now, with pre-writing, it's not a structured writing. So you are simply writing just for the sake of it, okay? Just to get at all your information. There's no set format. Nobody's going to be looking over you, reading it, and assessing it, okay? So you decide how much information you need to put on it, you decide what form it will take, and you decide how will you record this information, okay? So there isn't any additional stress on you to get this done with the pre-writing. All you are doing is adding information, transplanting it from your thought process onto the paper or onto your laptop, okay? It is just an outlook for you to write down all that you know on it. And if you realize you run out of steam halfway through, that's fine because it's allowing you the opportunity to say, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. I need to rectify what I don't know. So it's going to help with your writer's block. Also, at the beginning, when you pre-write, you got all these ideas. You are enthusiastic about it. You can see different viewpoints. It will help you to gain a wider understanding. Okay. And sometimes halfway through writing your essay, you may forget what some of these points were. You may get a little stuck. Guess what you do? Open up your pre-writing, have a look through at what you had written, and you will gain new information that will help you through the rest of your writing. Okay, now I do believe this 100% save time. Pre-writing does let you save time in the long run. Okay, you may need to spend time when pre-writing. However, if you remember what I said earlier, when I wasn't pre-writing, I would have to rewrite my essays a few times because I ran out of steam. So it's going to save you time in your long run by reducing the need for extensive revisions because what pre-writing helps you see is your ideas in totality, helps you to see your thought process of how you are going to develop your essay question or report question from the start. Look at all the points you can use in your body and look at how you will end it off. If you don't have those points, you will be faffing around a little trying to finish off your essay. However, if you pre-write, again, it helps you to focus on starting, having your middle bits, and the end bits. So let's get into the actual techniques that we need for pre-writing. Now, brainstorming is one of the techniques, okay? So we are going to look at various techniques today. Find the one that works best for you, and you can see yourself incorporating it as you go along in your academic journey. So we got brainstorming. Now, brainstorming is where you're going to be sitting together, either your friend or by yourself, and you're going to list all, emphasis on all your possible ideas. Okay. So don't try and connect the ideas together. Don't think about, does this work? Maybe that may not work. I'm not sure about this. So you list absolutely all your ideas. Okay. Don't filter it, don't edit it. I know it's hard. Sometimes you just want to see everything connected, but this is not the time. Okay, so it's also training your brain to think in advance. It's training your brain to not edit itself, if I can say that. It's training your brain not to filter, because I know sometimes you'll be like, oh, I don't see how those two ideas are connected or those two topics. No, save that for after. Okay, so I would say if you can set a time limit, target your goal or problem, that'll be your academic writing. No judgment or criticism. So don't judge yourself. Don't be harsh on yourself and say, oh, that's not the best idea. Write it down. Encourage all of your ideas. Don't stop and say, ah, I don't like that. And aim for quantity. So we want to make sure we have lots and lots of ideas, okay? And the only way we can get lots and lots of ideas is by writing down all our ideas, okay? This will take a bit of time for you to get used to, but practice makes perfect. Then build on ideas as you go along. If you have a positive, you can list another positive, sort of think about that, and you can go into the opposite of that, and that's a negative, okay? So while you are still holding on to every single idea you have about the said topic, you are looking on how you can get more ideas from an idea. Say visual, okay? It's nice to add in a little picture. If you like a little visual, it's good, it helps. And allow one conversation. That is if you are sitting with a group and you are doing a group pre-writing, then one person talks at a time. If you are by yourself, you're more than welcome to talk to yourself as much as you would like. Okay, so brainstorming is a great way because we're getting mass content and we are not filtering. Obviously, at the end of your brainstorming session, that's when you'll look at it with a more critical eye. All right, so let's look at this lovely picture. It's got lots of colors, it's got words, it's got visuals, and it's got branches. And in the middle, it says how to mind map. So if you guessed right, this is a mind map. Well done. So I like my mind maps very simple. However, I do like the use of color. Each different branch, as you can see, has a different subtopic to it. So if you are somebody who enjoys color, this is a way to go. If you can differentiate your topics by color, go ahead and do that. Okay. It also looks for something that's visually appealing. You want to look at this. You want to go back and keep it. You're investing a lot of time in it. Also, your brain process is involved very differently here. You're much more engaged because this is something personal. Okay. No mind map is going to be the same because the way we think is also very different. So maybe you don't like to draw people, but you like the use of color for different topics. That's fine. You amend and draw as needed. Like I said, I love a mind map, but mine are very, very boring, if I can say. Just plain paper in the middle and branches going off. Okay. However, if I did a mind map like this, I would be really happy. So mind maps are quite nice because they're visual representation. So you write down all your key concepts that you have related to your topic and you branch them out into subtopics. Okay. So that's one way of doing a mind map. So a different one is question. So I got all these questions here. Who, what, whom, why, when, which, who, where. Why are we asking all these questions and rewriting? Okay, I want you to have a think about that, and we will delve into why we are doing so, as so. Okay, so if you remember earlier, we did mention that not mind mapping, pre-writing encourages critical engagement. Okay, so critical thinking is used when we are pre-writing, and in order for critical thinking to occur, we need to question. Okay, so here are some of the questions we will ask ourselves when creating a mind map. So we will use the what questions, okay? We are going to use questions to explore different aspects of the topic. I do like asking questions because I feel like it helps you to delve in a bit more. So let's say your essay question is on feasibility of AI in marketing. You'll say, why is it feasible? When is it feasible? Which area of marketing is it most feasible? Who says it's feasible or who says it's not feasible? Where is it most feasible? Which location? Which country is it using that? What is most feasible and who is using it so it's most feasible? Do you see from a simple question, you are asking, sorry, from simple topic, you are generating these questions to see different perspectives of the topic. Okay, so I highly recommend finding one technique that works for you. Okay, and we didn't delve into this, but let's have a look at this now. Outlining. So outlining is quite fun because you get to structure your key points of your essay. So it's still a bit like the first picture. I'm just going to go back very, very quickly, where you have all your concepts about academic writing. Okay, so here you could simply just list them under each other, and that would be your outline. So you'd list referencing, purpose, spelling, structure, and those are your key concepts. Now, that was in the form of a mind map. However, with outlining, you're just focusing on your key points. So it's not a full essay. However, it is taking you through the structure of what your essay will be like because you're focusing on how will I introduce the topic, what concepts will I be using in the topic, how will I explore them, and then how will I end the topic. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do create a mind map on a chosen activity in 5 minutes. So you can have a go with that. Now, like I said, I like to do a very, very simple mind map. Going to draw my circle in the middle. I'm going to put, let's see a fun thing. Let's look at marketing. Okay, I should have done my circle afterwards. And let me erase this. So I'm going to look at marketing. That's me. Okay, so you got marketing in the middle. Now we're going to look at what aspects of marketing can we get. Okay, so I'm going to have what is it? So I'm just going to put a what. So what is it? I'm going to say good part of marketing, the positives. Then we can look at the negatives of marketing. We could delve into effects. Now remember, I'm just writing as much as I can about marketing. So here I will go into my definition. Is this definition the same in all countries? Which country's definition of marketing is most cited? That's also something you can look at. Okay, what's good about marketing? Then you can talk about social awareness if needed. And then you delve off. So do you see how I have marketing as my main topic? Then I branched off into a subtopic. And then from the subtopics, I've got branches going off into further information. So that's one way for you to get around with your mind map. Okay, now this can go further and further, and the only limit would be yourself and the amount of time that you have on it. Okay, so now, when we're focusing on a mind map, try and reflect on the connection between your ideas and then write a brief explanation of why you chose that structure. Okay, so let's say you are somebody who likes to use online tools. Okay, if you haven't used OneNote, well, let's find out what OneNote is and how can we use it in our studies. Okay, so I'm going to play a video on how we can use OneNote to mind map. Okay, so OneNote is a part of your Microsoft Office suite. And if you haven't used it, I would definitely suggest using it, going in, having a look around, and saving your notes there. Okay, so let's go into the next slide. So here are some of our online pre-writing tools that we can use: Evernote, OneNote, Google Docs. So I do like Google Docs for when you are working together as a team, because it is live and you can see what everyone else is doing. So if you create a pre-writing document on Google Docs, all your friends and colleagues are able to see it, able to add on. Maybe you missed a little bit, maybe you want to work together on a project, everyone can add on. And also, this is a fantastic resource, Purdue Owl Writing Lab, highly recommended. So this workshop is likely delving into pre-writing tools and how to get around it. With this Owl Writing Lab, they provide structured pre-writing exercises for you to follow, for you to practice, and has guidance. Okay, definitely give that a go. So if you are using a mind map and you also want to have a look at more colors, something that's a bit slightly different than OneNote, then MindMeister is a good tool for you. I'll just play a little bit of the video. You can find it online. It is free and you can download it. Okay, I'm definitely gonna give MindMeister another go. I do love this use of colors, and you are more than welcome to watch the rest of the video at your own time. Here's a link, you can click on it and have a go at that. Okay, so let's say you don't like to use online tools and you don't feel that comfortable. I got some on paper pre-writing tools for you. Okay, so definitely our trusty notebook and journals. They're great for freedom of expression. We can develop our ideas as needed, and we can always carry them around with us, pull them out when we have some few minutes between class to pre-write. So that's definitely a way to go. Index cards are also a resource that we can use. They're helpful for organizing our key points and rearranging your structure. You get to move them around. They're not stuck on the page, and you do have flexibility with them. Okay, so I do have a picture of these office stationery that may be familiar to you. Okay, so we do have sticky notes that are a good tool for using for your on-paper pre-writing tools. Also, just like your index cards, they are flexible in the sense where you can write them, move them around to change your narrative. Also, they fun, they bright, you get to actively move, write, transition, move them as you need be, and they're not stationary like as in ideas on your page, okay? So they do allow for fluidity of movement. Another good way to look at pre-writing tools is to color code. So if you are somebody who likes colors and you can represent your different ideas or subtopics with a set color, it really adds a good visual to learning. It helps you remember the information, and you can also highlight. Okay, so using highlighters is a good way for you to focus on key concepts and important information that you want to use. Okay, so we're at the end now, and we're going to do some reflection questions. So, from this workshop, what or writing clinic, what's a pre-writing technique that you will try in your next assignment? Mine will be giving Mind Meister a go. I did like all the colors. I liked how simple it was to use. And now that you at the end, how do you feel about pre-writing? Do you think it helps improve the writing process, or are you still not yet convinced? Okay. And what pre-writing tool, online or paper-based, would you prefer and why? So have a good think about those questions. All right, so let's look at our summary and key takeaways. So pre-writing is an essential part of academic success. Personally, I've seen it. I've gone a few years without writing it. I'm pre-writing and I only do it now. Okay, so it's definitely recommended by myself. Of course, it's a different variety of techniques that will cater to your different learning styles. How you learn best is up to you. You know, if you want to use an online tool or an offline tool, both can be used for pre-writing. And I definitely agree with pre-writing leads to more effective and confident writing. Okay. Like I said, you get to plan it out. It's a low stress event. You get to have a bit of fun while writing. Okay, these are my references that I used in this writing clinic. And this is myself, Christine. This is my colleague, Kieran. Please drop us an email if you want to reach out to us about more information about pre-writing. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to watch more, give us a scan and go head over to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.